Breaking. Nigel Farage just exposed a Treasury budget scandal so devastating that senior officials literally fled the building in panic. And what Starmer said in response could end his career within 72 hours. At 11:47 a.m. this morning, leaked documents revealed £43 billion in hidden costs that nobody saw coming. Three cabinet ministers have already gone silent, and the Treasury meltdown happening right now is unlike anything Britain has witnessed since the 2008 financial crisis. If you want to see how this budget bombshell destroys Labour's credibility, hit that subscribe button right now, because what happens next will shock you to your core. Here's what sparked the crisis that has Westminster in absolute chaos. 4 days ago, Nigel Farage received a manila envelope marked classified, delivered to his Reform UK headquarters in Mayfair. Inside were 47 pages of internal Treasury projections that weren't supposed to exist. His source, a senior civil servant who requested anonymity, included a handwritten note that read, "The public deserves to know what they're hiding." But Farage didn't leak it immediately. He waited, he verified every number, cross-referenced every projection and built an airtight case. Yesterday at 2:15 p.m, standing before packed cameras in Westminster, Farage wasn't his usual combative self. He was calm, methodical, terrifying, and that's when Britain's economic future started crumbling. Chancellor Reeves promised transparency. Farage began holding up the documents with both hands, like evidence in a murder trial. She promised honesty. She promised a budget for working people. His voice dropped to barely above a whisper. She lied. The room went silent. Then he delivered the numbers that made jaws drop across Britain. Hidden in Labour's autumn budget are £43 billion in unreported costs that will hit taxpayers over the next 18 months. Not £4 billion, not £14 billion. £43 billion that Rachel Reeves deliberately concealed from Parliament. The breakdown is even worse. £18 billion for failed asylum processing that's spiralling out of control. £12 billion for public sector pension obligations nobody disclosed. £8 billion for infrastructure projects already over budget, and £5 billion in EU compliance costs that Starmer swore would never happen after Brexit. Where's that money coming from? Farage asked, his voice rising with controlled fury. From your wages, from your savings, from your children's future. But wait, because it gets worse. Farage then revealed specific line items that Treasury officials tried to bury in 800 pages of technical appendices. £2.3 billion for diversity and inclusion consultants across government departments. £1.7 billion for climate compliance officers who produce reports nobody reads. £890 million for rebranding government agencies with new logos and websites, while pensioners freeze, while veterans go homeless, while working families choose between heating and eating. Labour spent nearly £5 billion on bureaucratic vanity projects. The room erupted, reporters shouted questions, cameras flashed like lightning, and Farage stood there letting the chaos build before delivering his final devastating line. Rachel Reeves didn't lose this money. She hid it. There's a difference between incompetence and deception, and Britain just learned which one we're dealing with. Within 90 minutes, Treasury officials started evacuating the building. Not a fire drill, not a scheduled departure. Senior advisors were seen literally running from Whitehall, clutching briefcases, refusing to answer questions from reporters camped outside. One junior minister, speaking off the record, described the scene as complete pandemonium, like the building was actually on fire. Treasury Permanent Secretary James Bowler was spotted leaving through a rear entrance at 4:20 p.m, his face ashen, refusing to make eye contact with anyone. His deputy, Cat Little, cancelled 3 scheduled meetings without explanation. Sources inside the building report that entire floors went dark as officials simply abandoned their desks. One civil servant who worked there for 23 years told Sky News, "I've never seen anything like it. People were genuinely frightened, not of losing jobs, but of being associated with what's coming." Meanwhile, British pensioners who paid into the system for 40 years are facing the cruelest betrayal imaginable. Margaret Wilson, a 72-year-old former nurse from Cornwall, spent 4 decades caring for NHS patients through night shifts and weekends. Her reward, a state pension of £221 per week, while heating costs soared past £300 monthly. She told reporters yesterday that she now chooses between heating her home and eating proper meals. "I gave my life to this country," she said, her voice cracking with emotion, "and they've abandoned us." Her story isn't unique. Across Britain, 12 million pensioners are making impossible choices because Labour's budget prioritises illegal migrants over British citizens who built this nation. But here's what makes it even more heartbreaking. Robert Jenkins, an 81-year-old D-Day veteran from Southampton, receives £198 weekly from the state. He literally risked his life to defend this country. Last month, his energy bills hit £340. His council tax is £165 monthly. After rent, he has £47 per week for food, medicine, and everything else. "I stormed Normandy Beach," he said through tears at a veterans gathering Tuesday. "I watched my mates die in the sand, and now I'm choosing between my heart medication and a warm meal." His grandson posted the video online. It's been viewed 8.3 million times. The comment section is filled with rage, despair, and a sense that Britain has betrayed the very generation that saved it. We're talking free hotel accommodation, 3 meals daily, healthcare, legal representation, all funded by taxpayers while veterans sleep in doorways. The contrast is so cruel, so utterly indefensible that even lifelong Labour voters are turning away in disgust. Social care workers earning £24,000 annually pay taxes to fund a system that spends £8 million daily housing people who entered Britain illegally. The mathematics of betrayal couldn't be clearer. A single mother working 2 jobs in Birmingham pays £3,200 yearly in taxes. That money funds hotel rooms at £150 nightly for asylum seekers, while her children share a bedroom in a damp council flat. Starmer talks about fairness while pensioners freeze and foreign nationals receive benefits British workers can only dream of. The moral bankruptcy is staggering. And it's not just Conservatives saying this anymore. Labour councillor Tom Harrison from Rodale resigned yesterday with a statement that went viral. "I joined this party to help working people, not to watch them robbed blind while bureaucrats hide billions in fake accounting." Then something unprecedented happened that nobody saw coming. At 4:30 p.m. yesterday, barely 2 hours after Farage's bombshell, King Charles summoned Sir Lawrence Freedman, his senior constitutional advisor, to Buckingham Palace for emergency consultations. Palace insiders described the meeting as deeply unusual and profoundly serious. The King spent 90 minutes reviewing the leaked documents personally, asking pointed questions about constitutional obligations when government ministers mislead Parliament. One palace source, speaking anonymously to The Times, revealed His Majesty was troubled, deeply troubled. He kept asking whether the Prime Minister knew, when he knew, and what recourse the Crown has when Parliament is deceived. At yesterday's remembrance service, King Charles broke 70 years of royal protocol to deliver unscripted remarks that sent shockwaves through Westminster. "This nation was built on accountability," the King declared, his voice carrying unusual steel. "On trust between government and governed. When that trust fractures, when promises become deceptions, the very foundation of our democracy trembles." He paused, letting those words hang in the cold November air. "We owe our citizens truth. We owe our veterans dignity. We owe our future generations more than hidden debts and broken promise." The assembled dignitaries stood frozen. Several cabinet ministers in attendance looked visibly uncomfortable. Foreign Secretary David Lammy was seen whispering urgently to Transport Secretary Louise Haigh, both casting nervous glances toward Downing Street representatives. Constitutional experts immediately recognised what had just happened. The monarch had issued a warning to the government without explicitly naming them. Professor James Davidson of Cambridge called it the most politically charged royal statement since Edward VII's abdication crisis. The optics are absolutely devastating for Starmer and Reeves.